Welcome back to the sanctuary of genuine storytelling. Welcome back to whatever you need. We exist in a digital age that demands noise. We live in a time where love is often measured by the size of the diamond, the length of the guest list, and the volume of the headlines. But occasionally, very rarely, a story emerges that defies the architecture of modern celebrity. It is a story that chooses the whisper over the shout, the shadow over the spotlight, and the truth over the spectacle. If you have been waiting for a narrative that restores your faith in the quiet power of connection, you have found your home. Before we step into the sacred, sun-dappled fields where history was made this week, I invite you to become a pillar of our community. Please subscribe to the channel, ring the bell to stay aligned with our storytelling, and if you truly value the depth and care we put into every script, consider clicking the join button. Your membership allows us to ignore the clickbait and focus on the heartbeat of the stories that matter. For months, the rumors traveled like restless birds across the skyline of Istanbul and beyond. There were whispers of private promises, of rings quietly slipped into pockets, of plans drawn in faint pencil so no one would notice. And then, fate, mischievous and kind, chose grace over spectacle. Without a single press release, without the intrusion of a single paparazzo lens, Barış Arduç and Elçin Sangu pledged their forever in a ceremony that stunned the world precisely because of its profound restraint. Tonight, we are not analyzing a red carpet event. We are witnessing a homecoming. Far from the traffic and the flashbulbs, sheltered from the chatter that never sleeps, they sought the hum of nature and the comfort of a horizon that didn't ask for permission to glow. This is the story of the wedding that broke the internet by simply being real. To understand the magnitude of this event, we must first appreciate the setting. When we imagine a celebrity wedding, particularly for a duo as iconic as Elbar, our minds instinctively drift toward the opulent. We imagine gilded ballrooms in the Sirgan Palace, carpets unrolling into infinity, and chandeliers that cost more than a house. But Barış and Elçin chose to rewrite the script of expectation. Imagine, if you will, a place where the leaves do most of the talking. There were no gilded walls here. There was no artificial ceiling blocking the view of the heavens. Instead, they chose an earthy canvas threaded with white flowers, pure, serene, and unapologetically simple. This was a soft signature for a new beginning that felt honest instead of loud. Witnesses fortunate enough to be present described the atmosphere as a modern fairy tale stripped of its glass towers and complicated rules. It was not a fantasy about unreachable kingdoms, it was a grounded story about two people choosing each other in a space so quiet it felt sacred. The decor did not scream for attention, it whispered. The pastel tones, the soft linens, the way the light filtered through the trees, everything was designed to recede, allowing the humanity of the couple to step forward. I want to pause here and ask you, the romantics of our community. In a world of over-the-top weddings, what does it say about a couple when they choose silence and nature? Is simplicity the ultimate form of luxury? Pause the video, leave your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video if you appreciate this peaceful journey. When the news finally spilled online, the digital world didn't just heat up, it nearly shut down under the weight of the excitement. Analytics blinked red as shares surged. But what truly captivated the millions who looked wasn't the event itself, but the sincerity pouring from the aesthetic choices of the bride and groom. Let us speak of Elçin. Luminous without trying, she rejected the heavy, encrusted traditional gowns that weigh a bride down. Instead, she chose a dress that moved like a river catching light at dusk. It was a feather-soft silhouette, devoid of unnecessary beading or structural weight. It was a dress that allowed her to breathe, to move, to laugh. It was a manifesto of freedom. In that dress, she was entirely herself, free, present, and impossibly bright. It suggested a woman who does not need to add anything to herself to be worthy of the moment. And then there was Barış. The modern gentleman, possessing that rare, calm magnetism that can fill a room without demanding attention. He wore something classic, yet relaxed. This was not a costume for a role. It was not a stiff suit meant for posing in a magazine. It was a piece of him, tailored to life instead of legend. Side by side, they looked like a harmony written in the same key, two lines of a melody that had been waiting years to finally meet in the chorus. They were not playing the parts of bride and groom, they were simply Elçin and Barış. However, amidst this perfect tableau of romance, there was an unexpected star. Tender as this is to admit, someone small and unassuming ended up drawing eyes without even trying. It wasn't a famous singer sneaking in to serenade them, nor was it a surprise celebrity guest flown in on a whim. It was a little niece. The family's tiny heartbeat. A mischievous guardian angel in a miniature dress who hovered near Elçin with the kind of pure, unfiltered devotion that can undo an entire crowd. The photos that later reached social media. Elçin bending down to fix a ribbon, that little smile flashing between them like a secret, turned the internet to melted sugar. These moments cannot be staged. You cannot direct a child to look at someone with that much adoration. Her giggles, her eagerness to be part of the first dance, her tiny footsteps trying to keep rhythm with the adults, these became the symbols of what the couple is actually building. They are not building a brand, they are building a home. The comments flooded in, recognizing this truth. It was a reminder that family isn't just a word thrown around for optics. This little girl grounded the event, reminding everyone that at the core of this celebrity union is a very real, very warm family unit. Privacy stood at the center of it all. In a world that can turn love into a live stream, Barış and Elçin set boundaries like artists of discretion. Security was handled with care, precise enough to feel cinematic, but invisible enough not to disturb the peace. Curious cameras were kept far away. This was a day for voices that knew what to say without saying much. When the families gathered, the ceremony stitched them together with a simple thread, laughter and tears woven into the same fabric. Relatives arrived from abroad, loved ones who crossed borders and time zones because, when the call comes, you go. For Barış, who knows what it means to belong to more than one place, this felt like two worlds shaking hands. There were moments when emotion fell heavy enough to bring the room to a hush. Not because something grand or theatrical happened, but because something true happened. If we are speaking about emotions, we must talk about the sisterly bond that set the air shimmering. In a quiet corner, with joy pressing like sunlight behind her eyes, Elçin's sister fought not to cry. And then stopped trying. Later, those close to the family say she whispered something that captured the day with the simplest clarity: "This is our happiest day." It didn't sound rehearsed. It sounded like a door opening onto a memory they will revisit for years. It was the relief of seeing a loved one finally reach the safe harbor they deserve. Despite all the secrecy, a handful of images eventually found their way into the public eye. The couple's response to the leak was as gentle as everything else about the day. They did not issue copyright strikes, they simply shared their truth. Elçin, with that unfussy warmth people love her for, shared a short message that felt like a digital hug: "We celebrated a day we'll remember forever, hand in hand with our family. Love to everyone who has walked with us." And Barış, a man of few words but deep meaning, posted a photograph that could make time slow down, accompanied by a caption that read, "Every moment with you finds its own light." No speeches. No press releases. Just two sentences carrying more weight than a conference room full of microphones. What made it all land deep wasn't a trick or a headline. It was the choice to keep things real. Fans understood the moment instantly. The comments didn't compare it to a set or a scene from Karalık Aşk. They called it what it was, not a fairy tale, but something better: honesty dressed in white and twilight. A playlist built from personal memories drifted through the evening. The music was not the generic top 40 hits usually heard at weddings, it was the soundtrack of their relationship. The decorations leaned pastel and soft, and as the sun dipped below the horizon, the lights turned the air to velvet. When the first dance came, witnesses swear the world paused mid-breath. You could see unshed tears glittering in the corners of their eyes as they moved close enough to become a single shape. This was not a performance for the guests, it was a conversation between two bodies. Even the cake cutting, so often staged and stiff in modern weddings, turned into laughter that sounded like relief. Nothing forced, nothing false. Just two people who had decided to celebrate the simplest truth. They had found each other in the chaos of the world, and they had decided not to let go. And now, the question that hangs in the air like the morning mist, what comes next? Rumor has it they are hunting for a home that doesn't need permission to be quiet. They are looking for a space kissed by trees, maybe a hillside view, a place where they can hear themselves think and hear each other breathe. Schedules are being reimagined, calendars softened. This is not because they are stepping away from the work that made them icons, but because they are weaving a calmer rhythm into the shape of their lives. And yes, the subject every headline wants to touch, a baby on the horizon. No one is making declarations, and they certainly do not owe us answers. But the glow on their faces has given fans permission to dream. That little niece is the best practice, some say with bittersweet hope in the forums. When will Elbar have a house full of footsteps? They haven't said a word. They don't need to. For now, the promise of tomorrow is a warm hush between them. This wasn't just a wedding, it was a homecoming to the hearts that have cheered for them longer than anyone can measure. Through the day, they soared across global trending lists. Every detail, her drifting dress, his quiet smile, the wildflowers nodding along, became a search term in moments. They didn't need scandal to claim the spotlight. They only needed each other. Where will they escape for the first days of forever? Perhaps a coast with sand so pale it looks like moonlight under your feet. Maybe a cabin tucked above a valley. What is certain is that they will choose a place that protects the very thing they've safeguarded so carefully, their intimacy. Family harmony, old friends close enough to be family, the perfection of simple choices. All these threads wove together to give us more than an event. They gave us a blueprint. They gave us proof that love doesn't need glitter to shine. This, dear friends, feels like the start of a chapter worth turning the page for. Barış and Elçin stand on the threshold of plans that belong only to them. Love, shared work, and the infinite possibility of the future. At a time when the world craves good news, they handed us a soft armful of it. Before we say goodbye, linger for a second on the image we can't stop replaying. The picture taken just after the vows, where they're not really posing, just breathing. You can see the relief in it, the kind that arrives when the long road ends at the right door. He looks at her like someone memorizing a language he already speaks. She looks at him like the destination she suspected existed, but had never quite found on any map. And in the center, the only truth we ever needed here. Love that chose to be simple and therefore unbreakable. Long live the newlyweds. Long live the quiet miracle of love. Thank you for joining us for this celebration on Whatever You Need. If this story warmed your heart, please share it. Subscribe to stay with us as we follow their journey. And consider clicking join to help us keep telling stories like this. Until next time, may you find your own quiet corner of happiness. Goodbye.